Hey everyone, and welcome to All Aboard, a channel dedicated to boards of all kinds. Today, we're talking about surfboards and all the things you want to consider when choosing your next board. If you're new to surfing and about to get your first surfboard, or just looking to add to your quiver, this video is here to help. And if you enjoy what you see, please click the link below and subscribe. Let's state the two most important things. When you go surfing, you want to maximize your performance in the water, and just as important, maximize the fun. Selecting the right surfboard is key to achieving a good outcome in every day of surfing, and what surfboard you use and the quiver you own can determine how your surfing will look like and your overall progression. When buying a surfboard, you want to choose one that will serve you best, depending on your level and the type of waves you're going to surf in. I'm here with Nigel at my go-to store in New York, STATION RBNY in the Rockaways. We'll go over some of the main features and aspects of a surfboard design, how they all come together in the different shapes, and how it impacts the board performance and your surfing. Before we dive into Surfboard, I want to take a minute to thank the sponsor of this video, Pastimes, an awesome app that will help you broaden your surfing and your outdoor horizons. Using the Pastimes app, you can now connect with surfers, set up meetings at the beach, and find people who share your passion for the waves. The app focuses on all kinds of outdoor activities like surfing, hiking, snowboarding, cycling, rock climbing, and lots more. In the Pastimes app, you can create a profile and select all your outdoor interests, and if you're like me, I'm sure you have more than one. I found a lot of people who surf, skate, and snowboard and can always find someone to partner with and join the fun. You can also create a group for a day at the beach, the slopes, or whatever floats your boat, and add a description like hitting the Rockaways for a 7 a.m. session, driving from the city, who wants to hitch a ride? I can tell you that sharing a ride to the beach and getting psyched together really helps when it's 40 degrees outside and you're looking for those winter waves. In Pastimes, you can also just list your availability for the activities you like, and people can see that and connect with you. So I want to thank Pastimes for sponsoring this video and providing this really cool product. Just download the app on your phone, set yourself up super quick, and invite your friends. The more people join, the more opportunities you all have for fun and shared experiences doing what you love in nature. Back to surfboards. Now, as you progress in surfing and you choose a new surfboard, the first and the main thing you want to think about is the shape. Most importantly, you want to consider how you want your board to perform and in what conditions. The overall design of a surfboard will determine the board's performance. Each design is constructed by the three dimensions: the length, which affects paddling power; the width affects maneuverability and glide power; and the thickness, which determines the stability and buoyancy. These three properties will affect the overall shape and the board's volume, which we will talk about in a bit. So if you're a beginner, for example, and you want to progress from a foam board or any other beginner board, moving to an intermediate board can be quite challenging, mainly because the volume of the board starts decreasing. Luckily, we can achieve this step by keeping relatively high volume but just getting a different shape, like fish for example, which will allow the board to maneuver and open the chances for progression. So here are the main shapes that we can choose from. First, we have the longboard. Longboards will have higher volume, they are wider and thicker than most boards, and they generally run between 9 to 12 feet length.
Yeah, and for that reason, a lot of beginners tend to get a longboard as their first board. It is stable, but longboarding is a type of surfing, right? So I think it's probably one of the most beautiful types of surfing because the boards are long, they're more stable, they tend to ride very kind of like a lot more cruisy. There are different types of longboards. You have performance longboards, you have your standard like nose riders, but in general, longboards are going to be much easier to paddle. They're going to be a lot more stable, and on small waves you probably have a little bit more fun because you'll get into more waves when you have that bigger board. You can sit further out back and get in front of everyone with the longboard, and it's the one that's been around the longest. That's kind of what people were surfing at the inception of the sport.
Next, we have the Funshape or the Malibu boards. If compared to a longboard, the Funshape board will usually have slightly pointier nose with a similar rocker and paddle power, but it is thinner than a longboard and will usually have a 3-fin setup.
Yeah, so if you think about the longboard as like the Cadillac, the Funshape would be kind of like the sedan, right? So it's a little bit smaller than the longboard, still very stable to paddle. Will come with a rounder, not as round a nose as a longboard. I mean, some of them do, but in general, the name defines what it is. It's just a board you have loads of fun on. It can move a little bit faster than a longboard usually. It will still work in small waves pretty well. And a lot of beginners like to go that route too because it's a good jump to give them that progression if they're looking for something that's slightly more challenging. But, Funshapes are just like great all-around boards.
Another bigger board is the Gun. It's long and thin and meant for big and hollow waves. The more rocker in the nose helps to take off in the steep part and the critical parts of the waves.
Guns, or big wave guns as they're known, this is a little bit more of an elite surfer. Surfing much bigger waves, those boards tend to be a little bit narrower. 99% of the time will have a pintail, as we discussed tail before. But this is the type of board that you use it when the waves get a certain height. It gives you the paddle power, so although it's narrow, it still has to paddle quickly because these guys need to get into the waves much faster. But it's a board that most people aren't surfing unless they're trying to get to that level, and you have to have the waves to surf it, so which is difficult sometimes.
Perhaps the most common and the more advanced shape are the shortboards. Shortboards will have maximum wave range with a much smaller volume, so they need more push into the wave. They have lots of rocker for maneuverability, and they will usually come with a 3 or 4 fin setup.
So the standard shortboard, which is what you see the pros will be on, those are like your sports cars. Those guys are fast, they're loose, they're great when the waves start pumping and getting really good conditions. And you'll usually have a couple options for the fins, like you said. You could set it up a thruster, a quad. I'm sure we'll discuss that later, but that's your standard shortboard. And there's other versions of shortboards that are not a standard shortboard, but when you think of a guy who's surfing really well and doing a lot of tricks, he's normally on a standard shortboard.
Next, we have the Grovelers. This is basically a hybrid between the longboard and the shortboard. They have wider nose and tail to increase their buoyancy with a really good paddle power.
Yeah, Grovelers are they're fun boards to surf. They tend to be, like you said, a little bit wider. They carry a little bit more volume in the board because you want to sit higher up in the water. And we go back to talking about the rocker. They tend to have a lower rocker, so that gives you the speed when you're paddling, and it works in much smaller waves. So a lot of people love these boards, including myself, because I could maximize my wave count on a small day without having to go to a longboard.
The last shape we'll talk about is the fish. The fish will have a swallowtail to channel water in different waves. They are usually shorter, wider, and thicker, and they have twin or quad fin setup for easy glide on top of the wave. With the low rocker, it's easier to paddle and catch the waves.
Yeah, fishes gained a lot of popularity. I might be completely misquoting this. In the late 90s, guys just wanted to surf, either long point break waves or small waves with, it was before the Groveler basically. So they're fun boards to ride. They will always have a swallowtail. Normally a true fish will have a bigger swallowtail. And I guess like for the purists, it would probably be a twin fin, to be honest. But fishes are super popular now. They got super trendy, and they are fun to surf in pretty much most conditions until it starts to get too big and hollow. They don't work well in that, but great in small waves, great in medium-sized waves, and work really well in mushy or long kind of point break type waves.
Okay everyone, thanks for joining us in this overview of surfboard shapes and designs. In the next video, we'll talk about the rocker, outlines, fin setup, volume, and more. Check it out in the link up here or in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe!